Welcome to News Now Alberta. This is Special Ed. Today we're looking at a cop that doesn't have a clue of what's going on around her and doesn't have a clue about the law.
This cop could very well be the most uninformed and dangerous officer in the country. Despite having over 2 decades of experience, this cop repeatedly states that she does not know the law.
So she has over 20 years of experience. I wonder how many rights, how many laws that she's broken in 20 years.
What you are about to see is the clueless cop being deposed due to a lawsuit where she illegally detained an auditor that was doing nothing more than recording in a public place.
Are you familiar with this case at all?
Which case?
The case that brings us here today, that you're testifying in.
Yes.
Okay, and in a nutshell, what's the case about?
I would say that Amanda Burquist is, I guess I called you to say that she was outside videoing when she shouldn't have been. So she's saying we violated her amendment rights.
You're correct. When you say when she shouldn't have been, what does that mean? Was she doing something wrong?
Just something unusual, what us as officers would consider unusual.
Unusual, okay.
She did not prepare for this case. She doesn't even know why she's there.
Depending on where you are in the country, Mormons are unusual, right? Depending on where you are, it might be unusual to see a Mormon. Do you get to detain Mormons in those places?
I don't know if people detain Mormons. I don't know if they detain Mormons.
Would it be lawful? Just because it's unusual?
No.
Okay. Is there something unlawful about recording outside of a building?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Let me ask you this. Was Miss Burquist doing anything illegal when she was detained?
No, I would say it was not illegal, unusual.
Okay. In order to detain somebody, what do you have to have legally? Do you know?
I do not know the law legally.
Okay. Did you have any reasonable suspicion that she was committing a crime?
We had reasonable suspicion to ask her what she was doing and why she was doing it, just to get who she was and why.
You and I agree on that you had the right to ask her whatever you wanted to ask her. Did you have the right to put her in handcuffs?
For the security of the officers, yes.
Okay. What made her a threat?
Her refusing to give any information that was requested of her.
Was she legally obligated to give that information?
When an officer has asked her for security purposes to give her identity up, yes, we do have the right to ask for an identity of somebody.
She thinks she can detain someone and ask for ID, and if they refuse, put them in handcuffs just because she's a cop. I mean, even in stop and ID states that they call in the US, uh, you still can't do that. You still need reasonable, articulable suspicion of a crime. Even in Canada, you need reasonable grounds. Anywhere in Canada, there's no stop and ID province in Canada. You need reasonable grounds in order to get ID.
For our safety.
Have you ever heard of something called a Terry search or a Terry frisk?
I have.
Okay, what is that?
I'm not going to say exactly. I don't know the law.
So what they're talking about is Terry versus Ohio, which basically says that you need a minimum of reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime to ask for ID or detain someone. I know a lot of cops break that. They put people in handcuffs for officer safety, which is crap, but they get away with it. But she doesn't even know what Terry is. I'm Canadian and I know what Terry versus Ohio is. and she doesn't know the law. What do you think of this dumb cop? Let me know in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.